Hey guys, so I just had a conversation with someone on Facebook who was working on a church logo, and I wanted to make a quick video about this because I think that the main theme of this conversation is really helpful for anyone who's going to be doing anything creative for the local church, and especially with you being in a normative sized church that doesn't have the resources or the budget to hire outside agencies to take care of social media graphics or to do sermon bumper videos or anything like that. If you're doing it on your own, especially if you're a pastor or maybe the church secretary, somehow you've been thrown into the pit of you have to create all these fancy new graphics, these logos, everything is, it's all yours. You have to do it now. So anyone who falls into that category, I think this is going to be helpful for them. The person I was talking to was in charge of creating a new logo for their church, and it was it's a Bible fellowship church, kind of a generic name. I can't really remember it, but it was something, just say Community Bible Fellowship. And it's an older congregation, and they wanted to update the logo just a little bit, but he didn't really know where to go with the logo, mainly because he had certain requirements or restrictions placed onto the logo that the senior pastor and some of the elders or the church leadership said that this has to be a part of the logo. And can you guess what those parts are? Those parts are the Bible, the cross, and some sort of global thing. It's like, if you look at the SBC logo, or the Southern Baptist logo, it's an open Bible, it's a cross with a giant globe behind it. Essentially, that's like what they were looking to do, but they wanted something different. And unfortunately, when you look at church logos across the world, if you're looking for inspiration on how to create these, there's not a lot that hasn't been done with a Bible. There isn't a lot that hasn't been done with a cross. There isn't a lot that hasn't been done with a globe. And there definitely hasn't been a lot that hasn't been done with these elements of icons or a logo. These things, it's impossible to create something new at this point. And in reality, even the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. And when it comes to creativity and creating things, there's nothing new under the sun. When you look at new design, when you look at something that's out of the box thinking, what it really is someone taking these ideas that have already been out there, whether they be different graphic elements or different just thought or in philosophies, and throwing them together to create something that everyone sees as new. But in actuality, when you break it down, it's like, oh, hey, it's taking these elements from logos back in the 1940s and mixing them in with some more quote unquote retro elements of like the 80s, all in a modernized, simplistic way of, the 2010s, or in 2020s. So there's nothing new. It's just a new mixing. It's a new mashup of old ideas. And so when you're creating your church website, don't try to be original. Don't try to create something brand new. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. You're trying to create something that works. And evidently, those things that work have been used a lot. And that's why you look at good church websites, they all in some way or form are very similar to one another, but they just supplement the parts that can be changed with parts about their church as opposed to someone down the road. Same with church logos. All good church logos kind of have a little thread of similarity. And that's not because it's the same person making all these logos. It's because there's elements that every church wants to have in their logo. And in order to do that, there's not that many new ways to implement them. But there's some different ways that you can change the other elements, or there's ways that you can just mash up ideas. So creativity, creating things, especially in the church world, when you may not be gifted very liberal. You might not have a very liberal gifting of creativity. You may not have just a deep bucket of experience and talent to draw from. And you might end up having just to scroll through Pinterest or Google Images to find church logos and find one that you like, and then going into whatever program that you're using and trying to throw something together that looks similar to that. And at the end of the process, it's original to your church. It has all of your information on it, and it's new to your church. While you're not completely ripping off, you're not just copy and pasting someone else's logo and claiming it as yours. Just pulling different elements from things like that together That's essentially what creativity is. That's in this world. Don't feel like you have this deep undergirding of you cannot create anything that has been done before. You don't have to be Da Vinci. You don't have to be Van Gogh. You don't have to create a completely new style of design. You're creating things that need to be effective and need to be efficient for your church. You don't want to create something that's so brand new and thought-provoking that absolutely no one has any idea how to work your website or has any idea how to read or understand your logo. You're looking for effectiveness, and you're looking also for just general excellence. And truth be told, a lot of that's already out there for you to pull from, for you to work through. So that's our main point here is, as someone who's creating for their church, you may feel this deep desire, this deep pressure to create brand new things. And what we want to do here is just release you from that thought. We're not talking about just going and ripping off someone else's thing to the T, where absolutely everything you've done is that same thing. Like, you're not going to Google Images and copy and pasting the best church logo that you could find that has the same initials and everything as your church and then posting it on your website as yours. We're not advocating that. What we are saying is that you don't have to create something brand new. We are not reinventing the wheel. You're allowed to look at other things, other websites, other logos, and say, hey, like, I like this part of it, and I don't like this part. But I like how this logo has this part, and I like this part on this other logo. Let's see if we can bring them together. And bringing them together makes them individualized for you. But at the end of the day, you're going to look at it and be like, I feel like someone's kind of already done something like this before. And truth be told, that's pretty much anything that you're going to do. Someone's going to have done something similar to it before. And if you're on the cutting edge of things, chances are it's not going to go over too well, especially if you're in an older church that doesn't adjust well to these things. So all that to say, don't feel pressured to create something completely brand new. What we're saying is use inspiration from other places and mix them into a way that's original to you. So none of your ideas, none of your philosophies, nothing like that has to be brand new or original to you. But the way that you implement them together, a meshing, a blending, a molding of multiple elements together into the way that you do it is going to be original to you and your church. But when you break it down, you're going to be able to see the thread of how you got there from other places. And that's perfectly okay. That's what, major creatives in the industry do, especially, logo and mark making. Like those guys are creating new logos for massive multi-billion-dollar companies. And when you look at it, they can point to different things that they drew inspiration from, and they just pulled all that together, as well as the information about their company that they're working for, and threw it all together, and they have this brand new logo, this brand new mark. But in actuality, there's really nothing brand new about it. It's just a mixing of ideas together to fit that company, and they're charging millions of dollars to do stuff like that. So do not feel pressure to do something that even those at the upper end of this craft of this industry are doing the same exact things that I'm encouraging you to do as the church secretary or the solo pastor, or even just a individual who's just looking to help the church and volunteering their time and effort to do something that they know that no one else may be gifted well enough to do. Release yourself from that idea of, I have to have brand new original ideas. But what we do want you to do is take in as many ideas, get as many inspirations as you can, bring in as many influences as you can, and then shape and mold them together to create something original to your church, something new, something that works well, and something that looks great. So that's all we wanted to say today. Just encourage you in that you do not have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to logos and websites. Don't do it. feel free to release that stress and be encouraged in knowing that what you're doing is great work for the local church. And we want to be able to continue to encourage you in working and designing and developing new things for the local church. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, feel free to reach out, send me an email, get in contact with us through Facebook or through our website. I'd love to be able to just shoot you some tips, give you some advice, help you work through any problems that you may have. All this is completely free. You don't have to worry about me sending you a bill afterwards. I'm here to help. If there's just a question you want to ask, feel free to send me an email or send me a message through Facebook. I'd be glad to help you work through it. So have a great day and keep creating and keep glorifying God more through design.